being about 8 years old, sitting at the round oak table after school in my grandparents' kitchen. Days worth of newspapers sprawled out in front of me. Like most kids whose parents worked a few times a week, our after-school hours were filled with stories of life lessons. "The sleeping fisherman doesn't catch any fish," my grandfather would yell in broken Italian when we were too tired. "Read it again," his voice would say sternly, loud enough to drown out the sounds from the TV and the screaming kids in the next room. I would read the first paragraph out loud. "Now stop. Tell me what you read." Looking down at the paper, rereading the words in my head, I would tell him in my own words what I thought those words meant. Once we made it through the article, next would come discussion. He had already read the paper. Sometimes there were hand-picked articles that he felt had significance. Articles on union strikes and dirty politics. Being only a kid at the time, I did not understand he was giving me the best gift he could. Reading and comprehension skills that would stick with me for life. "Become educated and you can become dangerous," he would say. I nodded to keep him cool, not understanding what that truly meant until I was in my 30s and he was gone. I used those same skills I learned at that table that now sits in my parents' kitchen to read what the EPA was putting out after the derailment, realizing those fancy words didn't mean shit and I was going to demand answers. "Carly Brockovich," my dad would joke at the start of my investigation. I smirked and carried on. A few months later, when the same joke was made, I stopped and I said, "No, Dad, not Brockovich. I need to be a Lois Gibbs, not profit from the sick, but educate and rally." Since then, I've noticed myself saying words like polyacrylic aromatic hydrocarbons and semi-volatile organic compounds, polychlorinated dibenzo-p-dioxins, and polychlorinated biphenyls with ease and understanding. I think to myself, who is this person saying these words? "It's who you've had to become to keep me at bay," my conscience says back. I understand TCDD is the most toxic. It has been banned for years and was the main ingredient in Agent Orange. I understand it would have been created in that fire and deposited in the fallout. The results from my yard in Chippewa, taken August of this year, 2 years later, for TCDD was 6.6 parts per trillion. The total TEQ was 12 parts per trillion. Over half of the total dioxin was the most toxic. Something measured in parts per trillion should never be 12. I no longer wonder why certain variants of trees in the impact zone near the creeks are dying from blight. I no longer wonder why my hair has yet to grow back. I do wonder if my children inherited my genetic makeup that these compounds seem to affect, because it is an individual susceptibility that will matter. My name is Carly Tuno, and I am a lifetime resident of Beaver County, a 2007 graduate of Black Hawk High School, part-time server at a local restaurant, mother of 3 boys, and here in my newest role, community activist. Public speaking does not come easy for me, but if telling my story helps spread awareness and education and educate others, then I feel I must. If we are not willing to fight for our communities, towns, region, and River Valley, why would anybody else? Thank you, Mike and Steve, for pushing me to speak, and everyone else who had a hand in this event. For the past 2 years, I've spent countless hours reading, analyzing, learning, educating others, writing politicians, calling agencies, attending meetings, telling my story, and I don't feel anything has yet to come of the situation that makes any of us feel our concerns and questions have been addressed. We have been gaslit and deflected at every angle. Doctors refuse to address it and only treat the symptoms. State reps install carbon filtration systems in their own homes and give you the line, "I drink the same water as you," when you meet with them. It's not my job to educate the public on the dangers, just evaluate the risks, says the EPA, knowing damn well an uneducated public won't understand the intentionally skewed ways of interpreting those risks. Using legacy contamination as a reason not to give us accurate data on what impact this derailment had and will continue to have is a poor use of protection. Although legacy contaminants may have been present prior, my hair was also. Non-scarring alopecia was my diagnosis. It should grow back, they said after they tested my hormones, normal blood panel, and scalp biopsy came back normal. The truth is they refused to admit I, along with everyone else, was dosed with more toxins than my system could handle. I vomited for days after the vent and burn. My stomach bile I threw up had an oil sheen to it. We inhaled that stuff for days, and what everyone fails to realize is the dangers of dioxin, specifically TCDD, because it has been covered up by industry and government for decades. Doctors can blame stress, but stress is nothing new to those of us who work for a living to get by. Not to mention, I am a mom of one plus a set of twins. Stress I can handle. What I can't handle and will not handle is watching members of our community struggle to get by while falling ill, caring for sick kids and sick parents, all the while being lied to and given a false sense of security. I recently discovered about committees locally that deal with and prepare for situations such as what happened in East Palestine. Local emergency planning committees. I was quite shocked, to say the least, when my request for public information under the Emergency Planning and Community Right to Know Act was met with slight hostility and more red tape. I do not understand why Beaver County Hazmat cannot assure me the situation will be handled differently if it would happen again. We do not have jurisdiction, was the response I got. I do not understand how some nonprofits can be on this committee and not speak up and help me fight for answers I seek about risk management plans for Shell and off-site impact analysis if something would go wrong at that cracker plant. After all, that plant is the main reason why so many toxic chemicals are hauled through our communities in the first place. Information that is required to be publicly available, yet I'm still figuring out what hoops I need to jump through to view it. Yet in turn, they sponsor events like this. No hate, I know we're on the same side, but generally curious why no one wants to explain or engage with me when I ask the hard questions. Why are college-educated professionals relying on a high school C-average graduate, such as myself, to speak up? Possibly because I have no corporate job or influence that can be threatened or degree that can be taken? I don't know. I don't understand how not one single entity is responsible for the rail cars sitting in Conway Yard right now, right near Crow's Run, where the fires they burn at night to hide what they are burning get out of control. Or the lines of tankers lined up outside the cracker plant are not the responsibility of the ones who are in control of that material. Why is it if something goes wrong, the burden falls upon our communities? We get no royalties for each tanker hauled through our backyards. I recently received soil tests I fought for over 2 years to see, results I was told I would never get by the ones who have been through dioxin disasters. It was confirmed to myself I am understanding what I'm reading, and that gave me more confidence to keep speaking up because the health and safety of my community depends on it. I, along with others, will persevere and continue to fight for justice and answers. The roots I have personally in my community are deep and cannot be shaken. Just leave the area, I've been told. Packing up and leaving is not an option when everyone you know and love lives within your community. I am proud to say I am union bred, union fed, and union wed. I have it instilled in me when we fight together for better conditions, we have a chance of getting results. I will continue to educate anyone who listened to my lessons learned, preach unity to get things done, and encourage people to take interest in local politics, and maybe more importantly, local journalism. Thank you, Steve Mellon, because that's how our democracy works. Special thanks to all the bands and volunteers who graciously donated their time and energy to fight for a cause that has become part of my soul. Special thanks to my mother, Sally Rickey, who has always given me my deep sense of community values. She has worked in the mental health field for most of my life and always given me the guidance and advice to deal with my emotions and overall mental health. Even at times, she was deeply concerned about it. Her unwavering faith in God, taking my voice to church when I'm having a hard time and struggling with my faith, stepping back and just silently praying for me. She has attended any meeting I asked when I did not want to go alone, watched my kids or volunteered my dad so I could attend things, for it is her where I get my strong sense of will and determination, and the confidence knowing when you set out to do good things, good people will come along and help, because that's community. Much love, thank you.
Wow.